Hello and welcome back to the 6th episode of my Last of Us review. My name is Dan Bennett. You are here on the Real Dan Bennett YouTube channel. If you've been following along over the last few episodes, you may notice a little bit of a difference to my backdrop. I decided to give it a little bit more of a rustic feel given the fact that we finally make it to Jackson in this episode, and we get to see how that establishment, that settlement is coming together and how they're living their lives. And so I thought, why not spruce it up a little bit for this episode? Anyway, let's jump right in. We start up and we're following a gentleman who is carrying a couple of rabbits that he's hunted down, and he's carrying them home. And he walks in and we see his wife sitting in a rocking chair, and we learn very quickly that Joel and Ellie have broken into the house. They are pulling Joel's old interrogation tricks. They're looking for Tommy, so they ask them if they know where he might be. They say they have no idea who that is, but stay clear of the River of Death. We get a little bit of a comedic exchange between these four people. We got the snark of Bella Ramsey's Ellie. We got Joel playing the straight man, basically, and then the couple just bouncing off of each other like an old married couple would. Very enjoyable scene. I thought this was a great way to kind of kick off this episode, because this is probably one of the more lighthearted episodes in the grand scheme of the show. We get back on the road, and Joel and Ellie are on their way toward the area on the map that the couple showed them, and they have a run-in with a group of horse-mounted people, and they have a dog that checks whether they're infected, but they are clear. And when Joel mentions that he's looking for his brother, it catches the attention of one of the people on horseback. And the person that they catch the interest of is Maria, the sort of mayor of Jackson, played by Rutina Wesley. My first exposure to Rutina was on True Blood. And we get to Jackson, and that's where we go inside, and that's where we get to see the glory of what their society has become. Now, the showrunners did a great job. The set designers did a great job in building this environment, because you see all of these people have found a shred of normalcy. They've hooked up their electrical grid to the nearby hydroelectric dam, and that's what's powering the city. And they've got hot water, and they've got farms, and they're making a life. It has a very sort of country rustic feel, which is where I got the inspiration for today's decor. Your first taste of what humanity and society could become if our ultimate goal here with Joel and Ellie is successful. Joel and Ellie get some food courtesy of the Jackson hospitality, and we find out Maria and Tommy are a little bit of a thing. A recurring theme throughout this episode that kind of comes up shortly after this relatively funny exchange over the food. There's multiple occasions where we get to see an anxiety attack hitting Joel, and between the fact that he's a little bit older and the fact that he keeps getting kind of hammered in the face by the reality of the relationship he's been developing with Ellie, where she's sort of become his second daughter, and the potential for loss is very prevalent in this episode. When they left the old couple's house, he has the first sort of hint of that as he gets a little dizzy, a little uneasy up against the fence. And we get here to Jackson, and there's a moment where he walks outside and he sees a woman with very similar hair to his daughter Sarah, and he sort of freezes in place and his heart starts to race. This is what Sarah's life could have been like if the events of Outbreak Day hadn't occurred. We get a bit of a tour of Jackson from Maria and Tommy. As this goes on, eventually Tommy and Joel get some alone time to catch up and talk to each other. And this is where we start to take that turn toward the more dramatic side of this episode. Joel breaks down. He needs Tommy to take Ellie the rest of the way because he can't face this. He can't deal with this. Every time he closes his eyes, he has to relive the trauma of the Sarah incident, and he can't deal with the reality that it could happen again. He expresses to Tommy the truth that Ellie is infected, but she's not. She's immune. At some point during their conversation, Ellie comes in and she overhears a chunk of the discussion. This sets her off because she feels safe now under Joel's watch, and now to hear the one constant in her life right now, try to basically shrug her off on somebody else breaks her heart. There's a little bit of a departure from the original game, where Ellie gets on a horse and kind of rides off and finds a house in the woods. But instead, she just goes back to the house that they were given by Maria and Tommy. And we get one of the most impactful scenes emotionally from the game. Almost verbatim. There's a couple small changes. Joel goes to see her, and when he goes into the room, she's real dismissive, and he knows that something's off. She is reading the journal of the girl who lived in the house before, and she says, is this all they had to worry about? And then she throws it in his face. Why are you here? How much did you hear? All right. The performances in this scene by Bella and Pedro brought me to tears a little bit, because just seeing the pain come from Ellie as she says, everybody that I've had in my life has died or left me except for you, and now you're trying to get rid of me. Her invoking the name of Sarah triggers Joel too, and he basically says, that's it, I'm done, I'm washing my hands of you. She has to face the reality of, okay, well, fuck this guy. In the morning, Tommy shows up and he goes to take Ellie, and they go to the stables, but Joel is there. He says, I thought about it, and I feel like you deserve a say. She chooses Joel because that's all she wanted. He accepts this. And so they head off toward the University of Colorado, per Tommy's suggestion. This is where Joel just unabashedly opens up. They're talking about his job as a contractor and making jokes about it. He explains the rules of football, which she finds very confusing. And they arrive at the University of Colorado, and they find it's basically abandoned. They see some monkeys, which again is something fresh out of the game. Nobody to be seen. So they go inside and they're looking around, and again they run into the monkeys, but nothing. No fireflies anywhere. But they find a map, and the map kind of suggests that they should head toward Salt Lake City. But then we hear some voices outside, and they look, and they try to sneak it back outside to get back to the horse. And as they're getting on the horse, one of the gang of fellas that were outside tries to attack Joel. Comes up with a baseball bat, he swings it at Joel, but misses. Joel gets him in a chokehold, and he kills him in true silent fashion. And he turns toward Ellie, and Ellie is looking down, and part of the broken handle of the bat has impaled Joel. They get on the horse and they ride away from the other three guys, and as they're riding, you see Joel is starting to flush, and he just sort of drifts off and he falls off the horse, and Ellie jumps down too, and we see that Joel's not looking great due to blood loss, and so Ellie is pleading with an unconscious Joel to wake up. I can't do this without you. I need you to help me. And that's what takes us into the next episode. From the teaser, it looks like we are going to shift into the Left Behind downloadable content portion of the story. We're going to get to meet Ellie's best friend Riley, who viewers may remember Marlene name dropping in the first episode where we met Ellie. So that should be a lot of fun to watch. But as far as this episode goes, the performances, again, were amazing between the comedic moments and the heartfelt moments. I can't stress enough how blown away I am that we've gotten to episode 6. And I haven't had any major gripes about anything. It's been pretty consistent with the game, but the changes that they have made sense. They've enhanced the story versus taking anything away. And I think that consideration from the showrunners and everybody involved is what makes the changes bearable. And not to say that I'm one who normally nitpicks things like that. I tend to find things that I like out of anything. But the fact that there haven't been any major gripes for me at all is a testament to how well they've done crafting this show. Knowing what we have ahead in the story, I have every faith that this is going to be a solid ending to the season as well. So, whew, on that note, let me know what you thought about this episode, feelings on the changes. Are you excited to finally meet Riley? And as always, give me a like and a subscribe if you want to keep following along. My name is Dan Bennett. This is the Real Dan Bennett YouTube channel. And I hope you'll join me next week. Said it'll look a little different, but I'll see you then. Bye.